Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining the stream. Welcome Jamie, David, Mike, the other Mike, Corbin, Alex, Vicky, Maine, and Raphael. We have a lot to cover today. First things first, if we just look at if we look at Zoom, it's really popping up today. It's at that $350 level. They actually got upgraded this morning by Morgan Stanley, so that's pretty big. Morgan Stanley put a price target of $400 on this one. I'm a fan of this stock for the long term, and to see this type of movement in pre-market, it's great to see, and we might even see a continuation. What do you think?
Yeah, I think we might, and Zoom looks really good. It's honestly moving up above that 350 resistance this morning also, and man, with that upgrade, I would expect more good movement for them, and they've been really getting destroyed for the past few weeks, and keep in mind, this is only really the first good day to the upside so far, so I'll definitely be looking for a move up through 350 also, and honestly, I don't see another resistance until 355, so I think we could honestly have some pretty good moves today, and I love the way it gapped up, and that's a really good upgrade by Morgan Stanley. That's always a good thing to see, and that whenever these upgrades happen, people love to grab these stocks, and I'll be honest, Zoom's honestly pretty low on the daily chart.
You know it. And then also welcome Muscle and Alex to the stream. We have Corbin saying, good morning. Can you cover Pinterest and DraftKings? So absolutely, we'll take a look. Pinterest is not really doing much, which isn't a bad thing. On the daily, it's bouncing up pretty well, though. It's at a pretty good level. It's definitely tempting, maybe to trade it to bounce back up to 60.
Yeah, I think that could be a pretty safe play, actually, and maybe even higher if you want to go for a longer-term play. But I think 60 is pretty safe over the next couple weeks. And honestly, that's a pretty good trade there, Mike. And it's bouncing right off support, too, on the daily and just looks really solid. As far as today goes, it is kind of dipping down a little bit from where after hours closed, but it still has a lot of momentum, and it's holding $56 for an intraday play.
All right, and then DraftKings, Tom, this one's been booming over the past week or so. They're at a pretty big resistance right now at $60. What are you thinking?
Yeah, they've been going almost straight up for 4 or 5 trading days in a row. I personally would think DraftKings might get a little bit of a red day today, kind of like what we're seeing so far today at open. But, man, that's definitely a great few days that they've had, and I'd love to see it. And if they start to run and they break 60.37, I might look at a day trade or something for them, but until they break out, I'm not going to be trading them at all today because, they've honestly had such great moves on the daily. Look at these solid green candles. I would expect a little bit of downwards movement eventually.
Gotcha. Alrighty, let's see what else we have moving. I'm just pulling up a couple different watch lists right now. We had Maine asking about snow, so how's that one looking?
Yeah, Snowflake actually looks really solid, and it actually gapped up in pre-market with those earnings that they had last night, which was nice to see, and it looks like they're going to be moving up above $300. The setup looks bullish, and it looks like they're about to, they just broke that pre-market high right now, and they're actually running.
Good stuff. And then I was just looking, or actually we have Kiwi also asking about Moderna. I know this one has been exploding over the past month or so, but how's it looking?
Yeah, it actually looks really good today as far as that's concerned, but it looks like there is resistance at $400 where we're getting up to today. I would say if we break 400, it could be pretty good for the next few minutes, but that's a pretty big move that we've had it open so far. So maybe look at Moderna as for a move to the upside today, just with that momentum that we're seeing. But on the daily, it's hard to say. They've been kind of just consolidating for the past 3 trading days. It's kind of in the middle of the range, just having trouble breaking out here. I would say if they move up above 400, it could be decent, but it's going to be hard to say for Moderna. But I would think it could go up, especially with all the vaccine news.
All right, and then we have Alex asking about Clove. So let's take a look at Clove, Tom. They're holding their ground right around $8.60. I was looking at AMC a minute ago. It's also trying to pop up. But looking at Clove, I feel like it has a lot of potential, and I might get some hate for this, Tom, but I'm going to say it anyways. I think Clove has more potential than AMC. Now, I know I'm probably going to get yelled at for that one, but, it's just a gut feeling I have, and, it's at a much lower level than, AMC is, relatively speaking. We could see, Clove has continuously bounced off this $8 level, and, even if we see a bounce up to 10 or 12, there's a lot of opportunity, in that, I guess you could say, in the difference between, let's say, $12 and where we are right now, around $8.70.
Yeah, that's going to be a pretty big move, actually. And even just up to the high of $10 from a few weeks ago, that's still a nice like 15% move, even just up to there. So this stock could definitely have a lot of potential to the upside. And whenever you look at it on the daily, I mean, man, we're at $8. The high was 28. Like, I'm not saying we'll hit 28, but man, if we go up to like 15 or so, what do you say, Mike? Was it 12?
Yeah, I mean, I said 12, but it could easily run higher than that. I mean, it had highs of like almost 29.
Yeah, like 12 would be 35%. That's honestly pretty a pretty good number in its own right. But if it goes up to somewhere like $28 or something, I mean, you're talking 200%. If it goes to $20, 124%. So there's definitely a lot of potential with Clove, and it's a very good like high risk reward stock. So I wouldn't throw my whole like portfolio on it, but I definitely think it's good to start like shorting some puts on this, or even just grabbing shares is not even a bad idea around $8. That's always a pretty good support for Clove. And I think you're right. You know, there could be more upside potential than with AMC or some of those other hype stocks.
All right, and then we have SPRT still going, Tom. I know Raphael just mentioned it, and it's just been booming for him.
Still going on the daily. Cannot believe it. It broke out above that high at the end of the day yesterday around $15. Pretty good move up today to 1580. That's honestly looking pretty strong. I don't know how much longer it's going to be able to go up though, Mike. It looks like it is starting to slow down with these green candles kind of not quite, they're just not quite extending up as high as they were in the beginning. So I will be looking for a little bit of a slowdown here, especially around like $16 or so. But man, you're right. It just keeps going up on the daily chart. Honestly, it's blowing my mind. And I don't know, like how many more green days do you think this one can have? I would definitely think it comes down soon.
Yeah, it's tough to say. And then we have AJ. It says looks like Peloton is running back well this morning, but it has to have a pullback. So he said PLTON. So I think that would be Peloton. But yeah, I mean it is exploding up. It's like 2%. Looks like we're really close to that resistance, right around 120 or so. But they do have earnings very soon. It looks like. It looks like they have earnings actually after market today.
Yeah, that might actually, since there is resistance at 120, those earnings could possibly push it up through that resistance if we do see good enough earnings come out. But man, this is a pretty good move so far today, and Peloton's really been moving back to the upside pretty well ever since getting really close to $105 just a few days ago. And you know, Peloton's been having a bad year. You know, they had that bad stuff happen with their treadmills you know, like earlier on this year. So pretty bad news early on that hurt them, but I'm glad they're recovering up, and I'll definitely be eyeing them up as they start to get up towards these resistance levels like $130.
All right. And then we have, so yeah, that's that. I'm just trying to do a quick scan to see what we have moving. It looks like the main thing today is Zoom, Tom. They're actually booming right above that 350 resistance.
Yeah, they are. That's actually a pretty good thing to see. It opened so far that these candles are looking really solid, hitting 356.90 at the top. Honestly, really good. I cannot believe it closed below 340 yesterday and popped like this. You said they had an upgrade, right?
Yes.
Yeah, by Morgan Stanley. That's a pretty good thing to see. And they do have earnings coming up on August 30th next week as well. So that'll actually make for some pretty good volatility for Zoom. And I'll be honest, I would expect them to do pretty well. Like, look at their past earnings. Their earnings have honestly been steadily going up ever since COVID started. So that's great to see. And I would hope that it can kind of continue and beat that estimate again. Last time it doubled over the estimate. So hopefully we do something like that again. I think it'll definitely cause some upwards movement. And there is a big resistance around $400. So be a little careful of that. But if we get good earnings and we head up into those earnings, I mean, it could easily break that.
And then Penn's running. I don't know if you saw that one. Like DraftKings, it's not running as much, but PENN is really running.
Yeah, I don't know why, but Penn was even outpacing DraftKings yesterday for some reason. I don't know if it's just renewed stuff in the sports betting industry or what's going on, but Penn's looking actually really good. And I saw yesterday, whenever someone brought up the stock SCR, which is Score Media, this stock is flying up too, and Penn Gaming acquired them, which was really interesting to see, made them really fly up. And this stock's going crazy off of that news, but Penn's going crazy too. I don't know if it's off of that acquisition news or what it's off of, but either way, I mean, this is some great stuff to see, and Penn's really flying. And, you know, we've been waiting for it for a long time. And Mike, I mean, you've been talking about it for like 3 months as it's been hovering around this $65 support.
You know it. And then we have Adrian saying, DraftKings, here we go. Yeah, I'd love to see another run. I mean, it just has to break above that resistance from the high of yesterday, right around $60.37. Vicky asking for resistance on Peloton. I would say 120 is the main level to watch out for. After 120, what would you say, Tom?
Yeah, 120 is definitely going to be a good one. Let me go back on the 90-day, 15-minute and kind of see what we're looking at here. So 120 is definitely the first one I'm eyeing up. After that, it's looking like something like 123.50 to 124. Somewhere right around there, I think I would look at. And then after that, 127.50. But you can kind of copy my chart here, Vicky, if you see where my my upper resistance is here around like 124.
Good stuff. And then we have Mike saying analysis on APP and RSI. So APP is the first one. It's up a little bit today. Looking at the, I mean, it's not bad. I mean, it's making higher lows, and it looks like to be higher highs, which is great to see. On a technical level, it looks pretty good. You know, it's in like a solid uptrend.
Yeah, on the daily chart, it actually looks pretty good, but on the intraday chart, it's just a pretty slow and steady stock. You know, I would say it's more of like a swinger than just like a day trade stock or something like that, but really solid moves, like you said, Mike. Look at that daily chart. Those are, ever since it hit $55, it's just had solid green candles to the upside.
All right, and then and then we have RSI. Let's take a look at that one. Yeah, this one looks pretty good too. It's a little risky just looking at their history, but it's at a pretty good level.
Yeah, the relative strength index. But yeah, no, the Rush Street Interactive. Never heard of them before, but it looks like they are popping up lately, and it looked like they had good earnings back here that kind of helped them go up to the upside a little bit. But man, it's a pretty crazy stock, and it is kind of breaking out on the daily, up above this resistance around 1480.
Good stuff. And then Tom, I don't know if you saw Target or not. They're starting to break down a little bit.
No, I didn't actually, but look at that. I know that we saw it going to the downside like a couple weeks ago, and we saw it finally starting to move below $260 and have some solid moves. But this is nice to see, Mike. I mean, look at this solid moves to the downside coming in. This is actually a pretty good red candle, and they're falling below a lot of the SMAs, and they fell right below that 250 support this morning too. So it's just not looking good.
All right. And let me check this out real quick. Just looking at a couple different things. We have Sean saying, come on, Workhorse, break $9.80 today. I like the level it's at, Sean. You know, I think the risk reward is pretty awesome, and I love the way it's moving right now. You know, up 4% already.
Yeah, it's honestly not a bad play. It looks pretty solid, and lots of buyers are really flowing into Workhorse, and it has a solid support down there around $9, and honestly, it looks pretty good, Mike. I'm glad that we've been talking about this one for the past couple of days because it's honestly starting to look pretty solid. And I would say like leaps on this could be a pretty good way to go. I mean, look how low they are. And if it goes up even to like $20 over the next like 6 months, I mean, you're talking about a pretty significant move there.
You know it. And we have Spacely saying, good morning. And then he has the NIO $39.50 calls expiring on September 3rd. So $39.50. Let's take a look. I mean, you know, that short-term expiration is definitely going to be pretty tough on that time decay, but, you know, NIO's moving in the right direction.
Yeah, it is. It's actually starting to move back to the upside, which is awesome to see. And I hope that we can break out above $40. That would be an amazing thing to see with NIO, and I'm really waiting for that break. And we've been sitting here around this 35 support / 36 support for a few days now. So I would say it looks like NIO's it's just been like consolidating, waiting to kind of pop back up through there. And I think we might start to see it go up. And one big thing to me is that if Tesla can start to go up, because Tesla just broke back up above $700 just a few days ago, which is a really solid resistance level. And they broke back above it. And they've just been holding above there for about 2 trading days now, going really flat. And I would say if Tesla can start to break up above like 715 / 716, we'll start to see pretty good moves out of NIO too.
Awesome. So yeah, I'm just like trying to check like a bunch of different things at once. Penn's doing pretty good. It looks like they're pulling back just a little bit right now. But yeah, I'm just doing a quick scan. Zoom's still running pretty hard. Let's see, RCL down a little bit. The cruise lines and the airlines down a little bit. How's the market overall doing, like the SPY?
Yeah, the SPY is not breaking up to all-time highs yet like we saw yesterday. It's actually looking like we got a little bit of rejection off of like this 449 level this morning, on the SPY and pre-market. So I'd be a little careful with it today. I would say it looks, I'm more neutral on it / slightly bearish, but we'll have to see how the movement goes. If we can get more green candles up above 449, I think I'll like it back to the upside. But for right now, I'll still be looking at it kind of to the downside. Like I said, we had that little bit of rejection around 449 on the SPY, but we did hit all-time highs yesterday. And the good news is that sometimes, like whenever we, obviously we would look for a continued breakout, but we are seeing that solid rejection right there. So you can use 449 as a pretty good resistance if you are a little bearish or something like that. But just looking at it, I think that there's a lot of catalysts coming up with the market that could definitely affect it. Like we have a lot of this stuff with Afghanistan still going on, even though like they're not talking about it too much. They like the deadline is like August 31st to get people out of there. And I've heard that like we cannot extend that. The Taliban like won't like grant us the access to do that or something. So it looks like that won't happen. So we might have a big event come up, and it looks like the SPY starting to go flat, like I said, at 449, right at that big like psychological 450 resistance too. And I honestly would not be surprised if we saw a little bit of a dip down.
All right, and then we have AJ saying MGM is doing well. What are the resistance levels? So let's take a look. MGM is popping, which is great to see. It's really just been popping over the past week. I could see a huge level right at $44, but that's a little bit away. Let me see if there's any other ones in between that. Give me a second. I mean, 44 is the main one. There's a little bit of resistance right around like $43.20, but besides that, I don't see anything else.
Yeah, there's not too much going on with MGM as far as that goes, like with those supports and resistance levels. But I would say like there's not too much resistance coming up until like, all the way up to like $44, $45. It honestly looks like a pretty good play here. And the good news is that we're seeing other stocks moving too, like Wynn, DraftKings, Penn, and others. So it's like the whole industry is going up, which is great because that just means that there's a lot of strength across the board and it might not slow down.
Yep. And then we have Jorge saying BLNK is testing the neckline support at $32 before shooting up. So I think he said like neckline support. So let's take a look. BLNK, Tom, I mean, it is popping up. It's up like 1.5% today. What are you seeing with it?
Yeah, it is actually kind of testing like that support down there around 32, and I hope it can get back up there. BLNK and CHPT have kind of been falling off over the past day or two, but they did have solid moves off those lows of $30. So I'm not surprised to see a little bit of consolidation or at least like one red day, like a pullback like we saw yesterday. And hopefully they start to go back up and get that momentum back like they had a couple days ago, because it was unfortunate to see the pullback, but I think it's just kind of normal movement there.
All right, and then we have Maine saying thoughts on Apple for the day. So Apple, obviously they're a powerhouse company, solid stock. They're a ginormous company. But the thing is that they've been struggling a lot over the past couple weeks. Yes, they are right at their all-time high, but the thing is, like, especially over like the past week, we've been seeing a giant rotation, out of stocks like Apple and into some of these growth stocks like Penn or DraftKings, or you could even say Redfin, or like Corbin brought up, Pinterest, or you could even say, some of these cruise lines and airlines. Like, so long story short, Apple's a good company, but money is not flowing into them right now, so they're not ideal for trading. Like, they have these little movements up and down, but at the end of the day, they're not really doing anything. And I would say, there's just there's no momentum with it right now.
Yeah, and look at how it's just been trading between this range, honestly. Like, they've been failing to break out above like 150, 150 with that high of the range here, and then the low of the range is around like 142 to 143. So just looking at Apple here, it's just been trading flat almost. You can buy it off these bottom supports like 143 and trade it up to 150 as many times as you want, or you can maybe buy some puts as it hits the 150 resistance over and over. But that's the way I would personally do it if I was going to play it. But unless you're doing something really technical like that, I don't think I would try to swing it or anything like that at all. Like Mike said, it's really not doing anything. There's so many better opportunities out there. Especially right now, like look at DraftKings over the past few days. Like, wouldn't you rather get some stocks that are moving like this? Like, look at that movement.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think Workhorse looks really good, Tom. What are you thinking? Like, they're up like almost 5% today. They're at a pretty solid level. Like, They look pretty good.
Yeah, you're right. That actually does look pretty solid, Mike. And I mean, man, those are some pretty solid, that's actually some pretty good moves right there out of like Workhorse today. And I love how it broke out above $9.80. But the problem is it's pulling back right now really hard off of that 1,000 SMA and that resistance. But I would think that with that break, we would eventually get back up through there. Hopefully it's not a little bit of a fake out, but I really like Workhorse either way. Even if it doesn't move today, I think for like the next few weeks to couple months, it could be pretty good. And the good news is that they don't really follow the market. They do their own thing. So like if the SPY and a lot of these other stocks start falling back down, I mean, Workhorse could obviously still go up pretty easily.
All right, so we have Hornet saying there's an echo when Tom is talking. So guys, let us know if anyone else hears the echo. I know we had some technical difficulties on, what was that? I think Tuesday. So we apologize for that, and we're definitely fixing them. So guys, just let us know if you hear an echo. And then we have AJ saying AAL and MGM for good day trades today with a question mark. So let's take a look. AAL and MGM. I mean, yeah, they look good right now. I mean, actually it's breaking out. It does look good. I like it.
Yeah, AAL, I think looks really solid on the daily. They've been bouncing off that bottom support around $18 to $19 for it looks like they've hit it around 3 times now in the past like year or so. Looks pretty solid. And I love these 3 green candles that we're seeing. That's actually really good movement to the upside. And it actually broke out above $20.20, which was a pretty good resistance there. And you're right, they are breaking out and just looking pretty solid. And I love how they're also moving up above these SMAs. It shows that there's a lot of strength coming in. And just looking at it on the daily, it's honestly really, really low. You know, not compared to like where it got during COVID, but compared to these all-time highs. And even if we ran up to $25, that'd be a pretty good gain.
Good stuff. So Vicky's saying hit the like button. So thank you guys so much for joining the stream. Sorry about the echo, but if you guys could hit that like button, if you like the stream, it would really, really help us out. And yeah, we're definitely going to fix that echo. Like I know that, we had that one problem on Tuesday and it just like led to a snowball of a couple different things. So yeah, a bunch of people are saying, you have an echo, Tom, so I don't know if there's like a setting you could change or what, but we'll definitely get that fixed. Now let's take a look. Then we have Jorge saying DDOG at all-time highs like CRWD. I mean, yeah, let's take a look. DDOG, they're up 2%. It's looking pretty good. They have good momentum. IV's pretty low, which is actually a good thing because that means the options are cheap and they're breaking out.
Yeah, it looks like they are starting to break out. Looks pretty good actually on the daily, and I would think that this could continue. 140 might be a pretty good psychological level, but this has a lot of momentum to it, and it's starting to really break up to the upside. Like, I would definitely look for it like as a good like momentum play to just follow this movement, but I don't think I'd be like buying shares or trying to swing it up here by any means, but definitely follow that momentum.
Good stuff. And then we have, let's see, the next comment, we have James saying, Tom, Mike, can you please check out Roblox resistance levels? Thank you. RBLX, it's down a little bit today, but it is at a pretty big resistance right now at $90. With this one, I would just watch out. They have been making lower highs, which is typically a bearish sign. The first high, or I guess you could say the most notable high on Roblox was at like 104. Then after that, it was at 95. And right now it looks at like 90. So Tom, if you could pull up a chart on Roblox, it'd be good. But yeah, I would really watch this $90 level. Looks like it's going to be pretty big.
Yeah, 90 does seem like the pretty good level to look for. And if we break up through there, then it could be a pretty good, move to the upside. And I would honestly lean more towards like a move to the upside rather than the downside. It looks like there's some pretty good technicals going on here where they bounced off this bottom trend line around 4 times, and it looks like they're just failing to break back below there.
Awesome. So we have David saying like button smash, and then we have a super chat from Bravo. Thank you so much. This is our first super chat. He says, good morning. Nice to see the channel growing. Can you review MSGS and MSGE? So thank you so much, Bravo, for that super chat. We really, really appreciate it. And let's take a look, Tom. MSGS, give us a couple levels, Tom. Like, what are you watching? I saw it was booming over the past week. Like, fill us in.
Yeah, they were actually really going down there for a few months. Looks pretty solid off these lower levels. I would say this has a pretty good support down here around 152 to 153. Bravo looks really solid, and there is a resistance coming up here right around 175. So look out for that. We are kind of consolidating right around that area right now, but I think that we could end up getting up through there over the next few days. I'll be honest, this movement with Madison Square Garden looks pretty good, and hopefully they can start to make some more money. It looks like their earnings went very well last time. They went from negative earnings all the way up to a positive 2.03 EPS versus a negative 63-cent estimate. So that's a great sign there that they're getting back to positive, and it shows that they're making profits again. So maybe Madison can start to really go up. They got killed during COVID, and you can see how bad their earnings got. Negative 4.92. Now we're all the way back up to positive. So hopefully for the next few months, we can start to recover and maybe get back up towards that 180 resistance. And then after that, possibly up to 200 or higher.
Good stuff. And then, Tom, if you also see, like, on MSGS, over, like, the max weekly chart or max daily chart, it has been making higher lows, like, from the bottom. So we can see, like, the first low was around, or the most notable low was around, you could say, the end of October in 2020, right around $140 a share. Now it looks like we're basing off right around 150. So that's normally a pretty good sign to see. And it looks good. And then the other one was MSGE for them. It's basically the same stock. It's just MSGE is the Class A share. So, it's going to be pretty similar in general. But do you have any levels for that one?
Yeah, this one is actually it's not moving quite as good as MSGS off the blows, but I'll say this one has a pretty big resistance at $80 even. Watch out for that. And it's really been flying up for over the past week, almost off of these earnings, but the earnings honestly didn't go the best. They actually didn't beat on their earnings, kind of like MSGS did, but it's definitely moving up kind of like they are.
For sure. So yeah, MSG, just for clarification, MSGS is Madison Square Garden Sports, Class A shares. MSGS is Madison Square Garden Entertainment, Class A shares. So they move pretty similar in general. Thank you so much for the super chat. Bravo. And then, Tom, it looks like DraftKings is popping off. I don't know if you saw that one, but I know a couple people in the chat were mentioning it, and it looks like we're getting really close to breaking out.
Yeah, that actually looks really solid. We're getting really close to $60.37, that high of yesterday. Definitely watch it, guys. If we break out above there, it could be another solid day like we've been seeing. We've been seeing great 2 to 5% days out of DraftKings day after day. So hopefully we continue to see that good movement. And I would love to see it break out again today. Hopefully we see it happen over the next few minutes too, because I'd rather it happen now than later, Whenever it breaks out, like at the end of the day, it's just not quite as fun as when it breaks out in the morning and everybody's here and we just, we can have a little party as it kind of breaks out.
There we go. So, yeah, I'm just doing a quick scan again. It looks like BBBY is also trying to break out. I don't know if you saw that one. They're up, or they were trying to break out and they just got rejected.
Yeah, that was actually a pretty bad rejection. And, these guys, I wonder if they were kind of running up with AMC, GameStop, and some of the others. But I'm really glad to see them kind of run back up today. Even though they did come back down, that was still a good thing to see that they had that momentum early on. And it could continue into next week or something. But that was a pretty bad rejection.
All right, and then also, Tom, I don't know if you saw this, but Palantir is actually back. It actually made a full recovery from yesterday. So looking at Palantir, they're up 2.6% today, and pretty bad news came out. They actually had, I don't want to call it a leak, but some private data from the FBI was able to be accessed by some Palantir employees and people who just should not have had access to that data. So that is not good at all. It's just good to see it popping back up.
Yeah, that does not sound good. Obviously, any type of bad news is always bad for the company, for the stock. But obviously, it's great, like you said, that it recovered back up. It's almost like that news now did not even happen. So that good news for Palantir shareholders, and hopefully Palantir keeps flying back up. They have a huge resistance up here that I'm seeing around 25.25. So really look out for that for the next few days. They've hit off of it, or at least right around there quite a few times, and I would definitely look for a move up through there.
Good stuff. And then we have Vicky saying, what's the breakout level for DraftKings? Let's take a look. So, Tom, what are you seeing? I see that high of yesterday right around $60.37.
Yeah, I see that too. I'll draw it on the chart really quick, but yeah, 60.37 is definitely where I'm going to be lining it up too. They hit off of it even in pre-market this morning again right there. So Pretty good like bounces right there. So just watch for that. Watch for it to break out above there, Vicky. 60.37 will definitely be a good level. And it looks like we're having a lot of trouble. In pre-market, it got rejected off there. Looks like we just got rejected whenever we got really close to there on the 5-minute chart as well, just a couple minutes ago. So honestly, it's not looking good right now, but I'd love it if we do see that breakout.
All right, and then we have AJ saying Clove, Mike. I just saw this. So Clove went from red to green. It's popping up. It's up 1.5% today, and it's looking pretty good. I know we talked about it a little bit earlier, Tom, but it is looking pretty good.
Yeah, and I like it. I mean, look at this bottom support level that it bounced off of here, right at open. This is honestly a pretty good support, and it's been holding off of it for quite a few days now, and I'm glad to see it hold it one more time and go back up. I think we might be able to go up and get a bounce up through this 911 upper resistance. It's really trading between a channel right now, guys, so be a little careful of that upper level of $9.10 or 11 cents up there. It's definitely hit there a few times, so be a little careful, but I really like the movement with Clove, and I'm with you, Mike. I know that we talked about it earlier, and I think it could definitely get some nice pops over the next like 6 months. It's really, really low, and I would expect like a pretty good move up to like $10, and that $10 resistance I think is going to be pretty safe over the next like few weeks to few months, and it's hit $10 a couple times too and went down.
Good stuff. Now we have Bravo saying, do you guys recommend waiting till tomorrow for Jackson Hole before making a move? I see the VIX is up a little bit. So yeah, I mean, that would be a safe move. I mean, it looks like we are seeing some people clearly de-risking themselves. Like if we see the SPY trending down a little bit, like you pointed out, the VXX is also popping up a little bit. So I would say that's a safe move to make. And like, of course, like there's nothing wrong with, just protecting your portfolio. Like it all depends on where you have exposure. So for example, if you have a ton of exposure to tech stocks, it might be a smart idea to maybe, buy like a QQQ put as a hedge, or, it just depends on what your exposure is. But yeah, overall, to answer your question, I think that would be a safe move. Events like these can really move the market, and it looks like we're starting to see the market move a little bit already. And then Bravo also said, I'm still holding DraftKings from the $48 level. That's awesome. He said, do you think another level after 60 for resistance? Do we expect a drop tomorrow after Jackson Hole? So let's take a look at DraftKings. $60 is a big level. The next like major level on it isn't until 65. There's like a couple levels in between that, but like it's nothing like major. Like you could say like $62.50, but 65 is like the main one to watch out for if we break above 60. And, there's so many variables that can happen, with these Fed events. So it's really hard to say what, Jackson Hole is going to do, or the Jackson Hole event is going to do, I should say. But at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with, just like protecting yourself. And I really, really, really like the way DraftKings looks for the long term. It's awesome to see this type of movement in just 1 week.
Yeah, and personally, I bought some October 15th VXX calls this morning, which like right at open, which was pretty funny. He asked that question, and I did it just to like cover myself a little bit too. And I like how DraftKings is moving, but it does worry me that it's bouncing off of this upper resistance. So really watch out for that if you want to play it. But I'm with you. I think VXX might be a pretty good play for the next few days. Like I said, I bought some calls like just a few minutes ago, right after open. So I think it'll be pretty decent. Now, anything can happen. They could talk about the market doing great at the Jackson Hole, and then the SPY will fly up. But like Mike said, you should really only do it if you have like a lot of exposure, like to calls and stuff. Because unless you have shares or calls, or unless you're like, if you're like obviously if you have a lot of other bearish positions, then it wouldn't be too good to open up VIX calls or something. But if you have a lot of calls or a lot of long-term shares or something like that, it could be a great option. And, anything could happen with Jackson Hole, but at least you're protected a little bit.
For sure. And then we have info saying Boeing, exactly like you said, bounced from 220. So, yeah, that was a pretty good bounce, and it's looking pretty good, Tom.
Yeah, that's actually a really solid bounce. That's a pretty good candle that extended down right at open. Yeah, right down to 220 on the 1-minute chart. Really solid moves, actually. And it looks like Boeing might start going up for the next few days and maybe start breaking these resistances. It's been really bouncing off this support. And I really like it. I could see it going up possibly next week. And, for everyone, but now I know we were just talking about VIX puts and stuff, but, it'd be hard, I think, for the market to kind of go down if Boeing starts to like fly to the upside or something. So just watch out, because if the whole market goes down, then I think Boeing will end up just going down with that. But it does look really solid off these supports and even off this long-term trend.
All right, Tom, we have some bad news that just came in. So it looks like, we could see the SPY's falling down a little bit, but it looks like there was an explosion outside of the Kabul airport in Afghanistan. Looks like that's coming from the Pentagon secretary. Casualties are unclear at this time. Some casualties among Afghans, so not good. Not good news there. SPY trending down a little bit. And yeah, I mean, the VIX is popping up. So, I don't know, not good. We have that Jackson Hole event tomorrow, plus all the craziness that's going on with Afghanistan. It's, I don't know, it's a little rough right now, Tom.
Yeah, maybe a few VIX calls for a couple $100 wouldn't be a bad play right now. I mean, they're definitely cheap at least, which is good. And that's bad news, Mike. We keep seeing this come out of Afghanistan, and it's just not good for the market. Like, what are your feelings on this?
I mean, it's not good for the market, not good for the world. I mean, I don't know. I just, obviously, I hope everything just gets resolved in, a good manner, but it's just tough to say. I think the best way to go is just to not have too much exposure in any given sector. Like, I know some people, because tech just exploded in 2020, some people think that it's going to double again this year. I just think it's important to protect yourself in some way, whether, you buy puts on certain sectors where you have a lot of exposure, you just got to protect yourself in some way. We have Bravo saying, is it better to wait on buying VXX or UVXY till tomorrow, or the move is better today? I say UVXY shares for $2,000. So, I would say in general it would be better to wait before the event, but with a lot of the black swan events that we've been having, like this explosion at the Kabul airport, obviously it doesn't directly impact the stock market, but any type of war or uncertainty or anything like that can spook the market, and it can turn it around in a second. So I think the best way to go is to maybe just slowly get in, maybe have half of your intended UVXY position today and then get the remaining half tomorrow. There's really nothing wrong with that, and from a lot of the research I've been doing lately, it's actually a pretty popular strategy among some hedge funds and stuff like that, just slowly averaging into plays. So keep that in mind. Then we have Jorge saying, good earnings for XPEV this morning. Let's take a look. XPEV, yeah, it's up 3.5%, and it looks pretty good, Tom. It's breaking out.
Yeah, they actually had decent earnings, and maybe not decent earnings, but the movement this morning so far is great, and it's actually, like you said, breaking out pretty good, and I like it. It might not keep going up today too much. It's already up 3.6%, but definitely keep your eyes on it for the next few days. On the max daily chart, it's starting to look like it's really moving, so it could easily keep going, I think.
Good stuff. And then we have Sean saying, all right, donkey horse. So this is workhorse. It's all over the place, but here we go. 5%, it's up. It's looking good. We're getting close to breaking that high a day.
Yeah, we are. That's actually getting really good moves actually right now. I'd love to see it break that high of day, Mike. That'd be awesome to see it 985 and possibly get up there towards $10 or even higher. That would be awesome. We broke up above $9 earlier on in the week, and it's been a really good week for Workhorse. It's been recovering up nicely, and I'm glad to see it because it's been getting killed the past year.
You know it. And then we have Ironical saying huge green candles on Roku. So Roku's up 3%. It actually broke above that 360 resistance. It is looking good. Huge green candles. And Tom, this one's pretty tempting for a dip buy.
It is actually. And there's a big support at 350 that we hit just earlier this morning, I believe. This is a pretty big mover. Yeah, look at this. We were right around 350 earlier on this morning, and now we're all the way up to highs of 365. I really like it, and even on the daily, Mike, you're right. I mean, there's a lot of potential for this one to the upside for the next few weeks even. I think a move up to 400 is pretty safe.
Yep, I can see it for sure. And then we have Vicky saying, snow resistance and support, please. Let's take a look. SNOW, it's looking pretty good, up 7%. Tom, what levels do you have for us?
Yeah, it looks really good actually. I would say as far as resistance goes, we just broke one right around $300. So I would say use $300 as a good support for today. As far as another resistance, it's hard to say. It's been a while since we've been there, but I would say somewhere up around looks like 325, somewhere like right around there. 323 to 325, I would say is the next big resistance level. There might be some smaller ones sprinkled in there, but that'll be the main one.
Good stuff. And then Sean said $10 is when I quit calling it donkey horse. Yeah, I mean, sounds like a deal, Sean. I mean, maybe we'll move that up to like 11 or 12. Hopefully we see some great movement out of it. But I really like the level it's at, and I'm really hoping we pop off.
Yeah, me too. It's been down for so long, and we're just now starting to kind of break out again. And if we get a good move up through $10, I think we might have to rename it because if we break 10, who knows if we might get a nice like gap up or something all the way to 12. Because man, we've been waiting to break 10 for like it looks like for a few weeks now since we fell below it. So I'm just really like waiting for it. And man, I think it's a great time for people who are bullish on stocks like these EV stocks, and they've been wanting to get them for a while, but if you've been like holding out or anything, I think right now is a great time for shares.
All right, and then we have AJ saying resistance and support for MGM and AAL. So, Tom, what do you have for us?
MGM is not looking too bad on the daily. There's a big support down here around $37, and we've been moving straight up off of that, up through the $40 resistance. Now you're going to have to use that as a support. So another support here at $40, and now we're all the way up, getting close to the resistance right around like 43.75, somewhere right around there. Looking at the 90-day, 15-minute, though, this stock's been moving very well to the upside. I would say look out for $43 next over the next day or two, but it was a great breakthrough 42 that we had today.
For sure. And then I would say there's even a little bit of support at 42, like maybe if you're like day trading or something like that, there's a little level right there. It's not as strong as, some of the other levels you mentioned, but definitely worth taking a look at. And then AAL, this one's looking pretty good. It's up like 1.5%, or yeah, I guess you say 1.5% today. There is a pretty big support right at 20. And then the next resistance I see is, let me take a look at an hour chart. I mean, it looks like we're coming pretty close to a level at like $20.50, which is pretty close. And then after that, I see a little bit of chop right around like $20 and like, I guess you could say right around $20.75, like that $21 area.
Yeah, 2050 does seem pretty good today, so I'll definitely have my eyes on that resistance. And I've been really liking the airlines, Mike. They've been moving very well over the past few days, and even for today. And it's just a really solid play right now. We've been waiting for them to kind of bounce up, and they're moving off supports pretty well too. And it's just been a pretty good play off these technicals lately.
Love to see it. And then we have Maine saying ASTR is popping again. Yes, it is. It held that support very, very well yesterday, Tom, right at $10.80. And I know you're a fan of this one.
Yeah, ASTR should do pretty well. They have that launch coming up tomorrow, so definitely look out for it. I'll get you guys the exact time here in a couple minutes, but man, that this launch could be pretty big. They're actually working with the Space Force, and that's a pretty good thing to see. And and obviously the Space Force has been pretty big, but a lot of people have been talking about the Space Force, but we haven't really heard too much about them. Besides this, like I haven't heard anything too big, just other than pretty much the day they started. So there hasn't been too much going on, but I'm glad they're kind of sending some satellites up there, and hopefully ASTR can go up. Today's the day right before the launch, and with SPCE, typically the day before launches or a few days before the launch, we were seeing pretty good moves to the upside. So definitely look for it today, and then heading into tomorrow. It says tomorrow, they will be looking to have that launch around 1 p.m. Pacific time. So watch out for that, and I think it'll just be really interesting. But keep in mind, if you guys try to play this and the launch goes wrong, just keep in mind that's the risk you're willing to take with ASTR, because if it goes bad, this stock is only $11, and it was hitting lows of $9.50 around like 5 to 7 trading days ago. So don't be surprised if this one falls significantly if something goes wrong.
Alrighty. Looks like we're still seeing a pretty good pop up off of Roku. They're at a pretty big support right now, or they were, I should say, at like $350, but they're bouncing pretty well. And, I know I already said this, but like it is pretty tempting to dip by.
Yeah, I think it's really tempting. Just looking at it on this longer term 15-minute, I mean, man, it's really down and it's been consolidating for a long time. I could really see it come up. I think $400 is a pretty easy attainable target for this one. 380 will be my next upcoming resistance, but I think 400 is doable over the next like month, a couple weeks.
Good stuff. And then we have Sean saying F is holding $13, might swing calls. Yeah, this one's not bad either. I know it's been selling off a little bit over like the past couple weeks. I mean, I would just say to really make sure that you have time.
Yeah, definitely get time on Ford. If anything, shares I think could even be good with Ford. I like them for the longer term personally, but keep in mind they might not be as good as like Tesla or something like that. So it just depends. At least they're lower priced though. Tesla's like $700 a share, so at least Ford is a lot more tempting to buy in that sense. And whenever you look at Ford on like a max weekly, like if they can start to pop back up like they were in the late 90s to early 2000s, I mean, man, we could see a pretty good gain even from where we are at $13. They were hitting highs of $30 to even $38 there. So there were some pretty good moves, and I would expect them to maybe go back up like that, especially like if the EVs start to really pop off over the next few years. Like kind of like they're saying, I've heard stuff where Ford and GM are expected to have half of their fleets by like 2030 to be all electric. And that's pretty big news, because that would mean that about half the cars on the road then would, well, maybe not half, but a lot of them would end up being electric at that point. And that just shows that integration into society is going to be pretty big. And it might make like Ford and GM start to fly up, because if everybody's transitioning to electric cars, people might just start dumping their petrol cars left and right for these electric cars. And I love petrol cars. I love big V8 engines personally, so I like that style of car better as of right now. But these electric cars are getting tempting. I mean, they're even making fast ones, and I'm seeing stuff with Ford and GM where they're making cars with like 1,000 horsepower and stuff now.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it's the future, Tom. Like all these big car brands are, they're really making that transition. So lots of exciting things ahead. And then we have Bravo saying LVS, please, and then also PK. So LVS has been exploding over the past week. Airlines, cruise lines, and hotel stocks have just been booming, and we've been waiting for this for a little bit now. Now here's the thing. So LVS just literally went from like $36.50 all the way up to $44 in a week. Like 5 trading days. So for the short term, I can definitely see a pullback, but maybe for like a couple month or maybe even a couple week swing trade, I think it looks pretty solid.
Yeah, I think so too. And look at it. It's actually it's holding these lower like support levels. It didn't get all the way down to its low around 33 or 35, but it did hold 36 pretty well. It looks like even a little like higher lows are going on there, Mike, and that's a pretty good sign. And hopefully we can get back up with LVS. And I think that we will be going up over the next few months, but I hope that we don't start slowing down over the next few days. I really like this type of momentum, and just looking at it, I really like Win too. They're popping up, like you mentioned, Mike. MGM. I think they're all doing solid. I think they'll Win. And like Win and some of these others are pretty low, like Win, Penn. Penn is even like, I know they're not like a hotel stock, but they are kind of thrown into that sector.
Yep. And then we have, and then he was also asking about PK. So this is Park Hotels and Resorts. It looks good. Like, there's a quote that says, a rising tide lifts all ships or something like that. And, when we see explosive movement out of airlines, cruise lines, and hotel stocks, it's going to really move all of them up, and it's looking pretty good. Honestly, some of my favorite hotel stocks, we have LVS, which is a little bit, it's definitely more speculative, but like a safer one would be MGM. Tom, look at the max weekly of this one. I think it looks really good. MGM, they're really popping up, and that max weekly looks pretty solid. And then also they have that BetMGM app, which kind of gives them some unique exposure, compared to some of these other hotel stocks. I definitely don't want to compare it to DraftKings, but, it just gets them into that e-gaming space, you can say.
Yeah, and BetMGM's pretty big. Like I will say, like whenever I took a trip to Vegas a few months ago, I mean, man, there was BetMGM was everywhere. You could even bet on your television down there with it. It was pretty strange. I didn't personally do it, but it was pretty crazy to see, and I could see him doing pretty well. I think you're right, though. On the Max Weekly, I think MGM is going to be the safest one out of all of them. Now, I think Win and some of the others might end up making you some more money or, having some better returns with those. But MGM, I think, is definitely going to be the safer of the two. And one of my main reasonings is just look at it here on the 1 year daily. So like we can see how low MGM got to 1955, and we like on this pullback that we've been having over the past few months, it hasn't really fallen below $35. Like it hasn't gotten too low. But whenever Penn started falling, they fell quite a bit. Whenever Win started falling, they really fell off a cliff. So I think MGM held up a lot better than a lot of the other ones did.
Good stuff. And then Bravo said, thanks, guys. Have a good day. So thank you so much for joining, Bravo. And thank you so much for being our first ever Super Chat. We really, really appreciate that. And then we have Maine saying, DraftKings puts for the day with the question mark. So it's down like 1% or so. It could end up working out, but I just don't think this is like the best play to take in the world. But keep in mind, that's also coming from someone who is extremely bullish on DraftKings for the long term. So it's definitely biased. But I think, I just don't think it's the best play in the world. Mainly due to let's say we go back throughout history, like on this daily chart. You could see days where it like has these explosive green candles to the upside, and it might have like a little red candle sprinkled in the mix, but you'll have to time it pretty good if we do have that pattern again. So like I said, I'm definitely biased, but I don't think it's the best play.
Yeah, because right now you're kind of buying at the bottom of the range. You're buying more of right now at the intraday support. Now it does look like to me that we'll go down and break this, and I think that DraftKings will do very good for the next few days, but to me, just eyeing it up, it looks like it has that solid resistance up there. If you would have gotten in within those 3 minutes of touching that upper level, I think that could have been a great time to enter those puts, possibly for a very quick scalp play to the downside. But that's all I would do with it. I definitely wouldn't be betting on it to go down right now, because look at it. It's sitting at the intraday support, and it's not at that resistance that we were at earlier on. And if we get back up to that resistance, I would think we would break it at that point. So I'm with Mike. I would say just kind of stay away from this one. And I think there's better opportunities. Like I would rather short the SPY right now with all this stuff going on with Afghanistan.
Yeah, I agree with you, Tom. And I just want to go back to DraftKings for 1 second. It very well can fall down. But the question is it worth the risk? In my opinion, that's no. But I just want to keep that in mind. And then we have AJ saying MGM about to break the high of the day with the question mark. I mean, it looks like it. It's holding its ground very well, and it's really popping up.
Yeah, MGM, I know we've been talking about it a lot today. Looks pretty solid, and lots of good movement. But keep in mind, look at MGM over the past few days as they've been going up. They normally have huge moves at open, actually, for the past 3 days in a row. They've had that type of movement. So huge moves at open, and then they generally go flatter throughout the day. So it looks like they've had that big move already. So maybe watch for them to go a little flat throughout the day today, and then maybe rise up on tomorrow on Friday, or maybe next week on Monday or Tuesday.
Good stuff. And then we have, we have Maine saying, Chewy really broke my heart. Well, that's not good. Let's take a look at Chewy, CHWY. It looks like it definitely turned around over the past couple days, and not sure. I believe you had the September 17th calls, if I remember correctly. But yeah, it's definitely rough to see it down like 2% today.
Yeah, that's too bad to see, unfortunately. And it was looking like in pre-market, like you might have had a good chance to go up too, and it just got rejected at that 93 resistance. Unfortunately, that resistance held up very strong, and yeah, just not good movement for you. Sorry to see that. But, Chewy's been doing good for the past, couple trading days. Besides besides this morning, it's had like 2 or 3 good green days. So that was good news to see for that time. So maybe it's just a little bit of a pullback, but with it expiring in September, it might be best to maybe cut it right now or something, but maybe it'll hold support over the next couple of days. Who knows? But definitely been a hard one to trade lately. Chewy hasn't really picked too solid of a direction unless you got in on those initial 2 green days. It looks like normally after like 2 to 3 days they end up going down.
Yep. And we have Sean saying Ford seems more likely to get people to convert with that truck than maybe anyone else. And yeah, I can see it for sure, like that the new F-150 EV truck. So, I'm honestly, I'm really impressed by the way that they're adapting. All companies, no matter what sector or industry or whatever you're in, you always have to be able to adapt. And I love to see Ford adapting, and it looks like they have a lot of potential.
Yeah, and both Ford and GM, both, like people are really loyal to the F-150, and for a long time it's been the best-selling truck in the United States. I don't know if it still is or not, but I would assume it is, and it's been a big truck, and I know people would really like it. And I know that people are really loyal to their Silverado trucks too. So I think that GM and Ford could definitely still go, and I'm a little more biased towards Ford too, just because they're obviously the best sellers with the trucks, but I think GM's pretty good too.
Alrighty. And then we have Coffee saying, what price for Zoom puts? I'm not sure what you mean with that one. Let us know what you mean with that comment. And then we have W asking about AMC and SKLZ. So AMC, it is down a little bit today, but it is holding its ground. Just one thing I want to point out really quickly is, like, if we look at AMC, like in the past, like Tom, if we go to like a daily chart on like May 13th or so, like it popped up and then just like lingered around for a week before it exploded up. So I just want to point that out. It's not like every time it goes up, it just 0 to 60 and just boom, it just like pops up. Like, it could take a week for it to, have all the buyers come in. Looking at SKLZ, they're not my favorite play in the world, but I do like them at these levels. The risk reward looks pretty good.
Yeah, it's not my favorite play either, but you're right. That risk reward does look pretty promising, and it looks like that this $10 level is a pretty big support for the long term. So maybe buying right now isn't the worst for SKLZ, but it does worry me. They've been getting killed the past year or so, so really hard to say, but I would say it does look good off that $10 support.
And then we also have W asking about Wish and SOFI. So Wish is just looking pretty brutal right now, to be completely honest. Like, it's continuously making lower lows, and it's just looking bad. So I'm just neutral on it.
Yeah, Wish isn't my favorite, to be honest. I hope it ends up going up because I know a lot of people have been buying into it, but personally, it's just not my favorite. They're definitely not, and they're definitely no Amazon, that's for sure.
Yep. And I would say that SOFI, it's at its lows, but I would say this one actually has some potential. They're in a pretty good industry.
Yeah, I would say, and it does look like their support is pretty good down here around 1350 too. Like, that's a pretty they've hit off of there quite a few times. So definitely eye up Sophie over the other ones, I'd say. But honestly, I would look more towards like Penn or maybe like Wynn or some of those types of casino stocks maybe.
All right, and then we have AJ saying, thanks guys, love logging on here in the mornings, hit that like button. And then we also have Vicky saying hit the like button. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed the stream, it would really help Tom and myself out so much if you could hit the like button. And then we have Coffee saying, do you think MGM will break above $44 for calls? So let's take a look. MGM 44, I mean, maybe over like the next 2 to 3 weeks, but most likely not today.
Yeah, probably not today. That would probably be a pretty big move if it did that today. I mean, that's honestly pretty hard. A move up to 44 would be pretty big. They haven't had a big like 2-point mover like that over the past 10 trading days. So I wouldn't expect that personally, but I would think maybe over the next like week or so that could happen. But keep in mind, if that does happen, you're getting really close to these like resistances up here. So honestly, 44 to 45 is the upper level. So I would say that could be it could be good or bad. We might hit that and bounce, or we might hit that and break up through it. It's hard to say, but I would lean more towards maybe some consolidation there.
Good stuff. And then we have Jorge saying PENN over 82. That's great to see. It's up like 1.2%. It's popping up very well. Fornet is asking about Goldman calls for the day, GS. I mean, they're at their all-time high. They have a dividend pretty soon. It has momentum. It's I would rate it like actually I'd only rate it like a 5 out of 10. It's selling off right now.
It was looking good until the past 60 seconds on the 1 minute chart. It was really solid, and then I don't know, man. We just had
Well,
two bad green or two bad red candles just fly into this stock. I don't know what's going
it's
on,
a
but
SPY. It's a SPY.
is the SPY flying down too?
Yep.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Look at that. That must be because of this Afghanistan news. And man, I can tell you what, I've never been happier that I bought VIX calls early in the morning.
Yeah, not looking good. I'm just trying to. Oh no. Oh no, Tom. This is not good. Oh gosh. So at least 3 U.S. troops wounded in a suicide bombing outside the gate at Kabul airport. Oh god, not
Oh
good.
man, dude, that is terrible news. No
Oh.
wonder the market's going down. Wow. Yeah, I mean, man, I hope that guys, if you guys are pretty risk adverse, be pretty prepared for some bad movement over the next few days. It might not be a bad time to look at some UVXY shares or maybe something with the VIX just to cover yourself, especially if you're long a lot of calls. But Mike, fill us in some more.
Yeah, I mean, I'm reading through some of the headlines right now. Like, it looks like there's not a ton of information because it literally happened just basic, I don't know, 10 minutes ago, 5 minutes ago. This is not good. I'm just reading the headlines. Yeah, not good. We have Bravo saying God protect your soldiers and troops. Yeah, Tom, this is rough. I don't know.
Yeah, this is getting really rough. I mean, man, we got to see some. This news coming out is going to get really rough. I mean, man, I don't know what's going to happen. Are we just going to allow this to happen, or I would expect something to go on. So definitely, definitely be prepared, guys. I'll be honest, the markets are getting pretty overextended. I know that has nothing to do with the situation, but that could just accelerate the sell-off as these guys start to de-risk themselves, and just really expect be really prepared over the next few days, because you might see some crazy news. And definitely, I would definitely think about tonight and heading into tomorrow. Maybe think about doing something for the weekend, because who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah. All right. Well, Bravo said LMT shares for war stocks. Yeah, I was looking at that one. It's kind of lingering right around 357 right now. And, even if it doesn't pop off with everything that's going on in the world right now, it's just a solid company to hold. So it's not bad at all. Boeing, and then what's that other one? Is it GD? Yeah, GD's pretty good. NOC is pretty good. So definitely keep those ones on your radar. But Tom, do you have any last minute plays you're watching for the rest of the day?
Not too much. I mean, definitely just going to be eyeing up that VXX and the SPY right now. That's definitely going to be the main headline. And just be careful with your positions, guys. You might start to see some stocks go down that you just, obviously right now it's going to throw technicals off and everything. So just keep that in the back of your head.
Yeah, so thank you guys so much for watching today's stream. Huge shout out to Bravo for being our first super chat. We really appreciate it. There's a lot of crazy things going on in the world right now. So guys, please protect your portfolios in some way. Limit exposure. There's a lot of things going on. It's important to protect yourself. So thank you guys so much for watching today's video, and have an amazing rest of your day.